Okay. Hi, Katie O'Connor. How are you?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's good to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. So, you are Canadian. Are you in Alberta?
Yes, sir, I am.
Is it cold?
No, I'm in Calgary and it's quite lovely out.
How far is Calgary from Edmonton?
3 hours
By car.
by car, yes. How long on foot? I couldn't venture a guess because I'm not even going to try that.
No, it was funny because last night I was watching a couple of the old episodes of SCTV, the ones from the early 80s, which were all done
Yes.
in Edmonton. And you get a lot of wonderful shots of Edmonton when they're out walking around doing various sketches, and it looked like a pretty small town. Is it probably grown a lot? Because that was 40 years
Um,
ago, that show.
Edmonton's a pretty decent sized city. It's not huge. It's a full size city. Probably not as big as Toronto or definitely not as big as somewhere like you like New York, but it's a big city.
And I think Wayne Gretzky put it on the map, yeah?
Well, it was always on the map for me, but for other people, maybe he had a hand in it.
Okay. Well, that's the famous person that I know from Edmonton, aside from the SCTV people who went on to be pretty big stars. But they were kind of from different parts of Canada, anyways. Most of them were from Toronto.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they ended up in Edmonton for whatever reason. I don't quite know the story, but all right. So you've got a book out called Hugs, Kisses, and Mistletoe Wishes, and this was a collection of 8 different authors that put this together.
It sure was. It is a sweet romance anthology. We got together, we're all part of the same writing group, part of several writing groups actually, but we got together as a support group initially, and we decided this would be a really great way to give back to our readers. So we all came together and wrote stories. They're sweet, so there's some implication of shenanigans, but nothing blatant. And put the stories together to sell to readers at a very reasonable price. 99 cents is pretty cheap for 8 books, just to give back to our readers who support us all the time. My share of the proceeds are actually going to Ronald McDonald House in Edmonton.
Oh, all right. This is 8 different books, or is it one book with 8 stories?
It is 8 different stories. There are a couple of novellas, which are call them half-size novels, and the rest are full-size novels. So it's 8 different stories
In one book.
in one book. Yes.
That must be a big book.
It's about 1,100 pages, actually, if you were to put it in print, which you cannot with that many pages, not easily.
Well, you'd have to do like volume one, two, and three or something.
You probably would, yeah, which sort of defeats the purpose of putting it out there at a really decent price, sort of as a gift to our readers.
Okay, well, that's nice. One thing I always found interesting now with yours, it seems fairly straightforward because each author would just write their own story and you just put it together as a collection in one book. But I have had a couple of authors on the show who actually wrote one story with like 3 other people. And I always found that to be kind of interesting because I'm not sure how you would do that. That would be really challenging, I think, because the continuity would be different, the writing styles. I don't know how it would all blend together.
I've tried working on a project like that, and it can be really difficult if the writing styles are not very similar. Because if you were to look at all the stories within our anthology, everybody has a slightly different style. I tend towards a lot of dialogue, where some of the girls are incredible with word choices and descriptions. So to blend that would be very hard within one story.
Well, and also I think people might want to take the story in different directions. You might want your character to go this way and somebody else wants them to go that way. To keep the story continuity together would be real challenging when you have different minds working together on the same thing.
It really would be. And I think that even to run stories together, I've read a lot of anthologies where they take a thread from this story and the next author picks it up, and then the next author takes the same thread and picks it up. And even that is hard to do. It's with us all having our own careers, individual stories of a similar heat level was really the most sensible way for us to go.
Okay, now when you say heat level, this is referring to romance, meaning steamy, sexual, erotic, right?
Correct. And these are all sweet stories. So they all have a mistletoe moment where there's a kiss under the mistletoe, but it really doesn't go beyond that. Some people would call it clean, which is a bit of an awkward term in my mind. They're sweet. Teenage girls could read these and their parents wouldn't get upset.
Family friendly.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, okay. So are all of the stories, they're all romances, right? How are they all interconnected, or are they?
They are not. They're all individual standalone stories, except that they all do feature that mistletoe moment where you have to kiss under the mistletoe.
Okay. So that's the common thread that runs through all the stories, is the kiss under the mistletoe. Okay. So tell me a little bit about you said writing group. Tell me a little bit about your writing group. What do you guys do in that group?
Right now we meet virtually, of course. We have guest speakers in, and we focus a lot on building each other up and helping each other out. I will write a story and I will send it to a couple of girls, and they will read it and send me feedback so I know where I've gone astray or where I've left something hanging. So we help each other out. And we have new members in the group who we like to share our skill set with, so to bring them up. So being a beginning writer is very difficult. So we like to help each other out and build each other up within the group.
So it's like a support group for writers.
It really is a support group with a very large component on teaching the ins and out of publishing as we've learned it, and the different writing skills that you need to put out a really great book.
All right, let's talk a little bit about publishing. There's basically three kinds of publishers that I've seen. There's the traditional big five. There's these hybrid ones, which are something in between that, and there's Kindle, which is you're all on your own. Which one do you think is the most viable, or really does it just depend?
I think it's really an individual choice. I was initially published by a small publisher, and then I had a contract with a somewhat larger publisher, and now I am primarily indie, although I do still submit to the big publishers. For me, being independent really works well. I can put out the story as I see it, not as how somebody else envisions it. So it's really very much an individual choice. What is going to suit you? A lot of people say, well, indie publishing isn't real because you weren't good enough for the big listers, but I don't believe that's accurate. The big listers are the gatekeepers, and they're trying to dictate what the reader wants. They're following trends where if the big publishers aren't having great success putting out, say, Western romances, they're not going to put them out anymore. And if you're indie, you're there to feed those readers, basically.
Well, with indie, you can put out really just whatever you want, but you've got to sort of be your own gatekeeper, because honestly, I've seen some pretty dreadful stuff that was...
Yeah. Absolutely.
Where I think if you get a book from a traditional publisher, it'll at least be mediocre.
Most of the time, yes. I've read some pretty dreadful traditionally published stuff, but a serious author, a career-minded author who is indie is going to have all the same steps and often more than a big publisher. We're going to write our story and send it to our beta readers. Our beta readers are just initial readers. They're getting the raw document. They're going to read it. and say, hey, you missed this. This guy set down his cowboy hat over here and he didn't pick it up. Or she adopted a dog, but she never mentioned it again. What happened to the dog? They're going to pick out all those story flaws and plot holes. And then you fix them and you edit and you edit and you edit. And then you send it to a professional editor. And if you go through all the steps, you're putting out a quality book at least equal to a traditional publisher.
Well, I agree. But you have to be self-disciplined to do that. And I think some people just whip out some kind of story and just put it up. I've seen stuff with grammatical errors, with spelling errors. I mean, it's horrible. And I feel like I wasted my 99 cents when I read that. But
you know what? It does happen, but that is what, on Amazon, for example, that's what Look Inside the Book is about. You can open that book before you ever buy it and read the first few pages to see what you're getting.
Oh, I missed that part. What's it called again?
It's Look Inside the Book. When you look at the book cover on Amazon, almost all of the books, if you click that cover, you can read the first part of the book.
Is that a new function? I don't remember that.
It is not. And you can, and some books, not all, but some books allow you to download a sample to check it out as well.
I must have just completely blown by that and just hit pay,
it's just
and that was
little teeny tiny thing that says "Look Inside" on the top of the book cover. It's very subtle.
So, have you been writing your whole life? Did you start as a kid?
I think I really started seriously in my early 20s, and then my career was derailed by children. And when they were in about grade 3, I wrote a lot. I wrote probably 10 or 12 books and published them. And honestly, they were laughably terrible. I mean, I think about them now and I shudder because they were so, so bad. They were worse than the worst book you ever picked up for 99 cents that you thought that was a waste. They really were. I've taken a lot of courses and written a lot of books. I've got, tomorrow, my 21st release comes out. So I love it. I love everything about it. Even when I'm swearing at my computer and wishing that I had never started this, I just love writing stories and sharing them.
Well, that's great. Well, Katie, we do have to wind this down. Our 15 minutes just sort of blew right by. Do you have a website that you want to give out for the book, or a personal one?
My personal website is katiowrites.com. That's Katie when O, it's OH for the O, katiowrites.com. And I really want to tell people that this book is out there, the Hugs, Kisses, and Mistletoe Wishes, for a limited time. It's not going to be up there forever. And I think that people will really, really enjoy reading it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story and promoting your book. Best of luck with it. I hope it does well.
Thank you for having us. Or having me, pardon me.
Well, us, you and your eggs back there. What are those, marble or granite?
They are gemstones.
Oh, gemstones. Okay. Oh, they look